7,000 years ago, something erased 95% of men. Not their bodies, their bloodlines. For every one man who passed on his genes, 17 women did. And here's the part nobody teaches you. It wasn't a war. It wasn't a plague. The thing that wiped out almost every man on Earth was farming. Let that ratio sit for a second. 17 to 1. If this were a classroom, there'd be 17 mothers for every single father in the room. If it were a dating app, it would have crashed. But this isn't about who got a date. This is about who got to exist. Almost every man alive today descends from a tiny handful of ancestors. A genetic bottleneck so brutal, it makes every extinction event you've heard of look like a rough Tuesday. Before we go any further, you need to understand how we can even see this. Because the evidence here isn't bones, it's inside you right now. Your DNA carries two separate family trees. One comes from your mother, a tiny loop of code called mitochondrial DNA, passed down from mother to daughter, generation after generation, almost perfectly preserved. The other comes from your father, the Y-chromosome, passed only from father to son. Here's why that matters. Both of these lines barely change as they travel down the generations. So scientists can count the mutations, tiny copying errors that act like a clock. Trace them back, and you can watch the human family tree unfold in reverse. You can literally see when lines branch and when they end. And 7,000 years ago, an enormous number of male lines end, all at once, while the female lines sail right through, untouched. One family tree collapses, the other keeps growing. That's not random, that's not disease, that's something deliberate. In 2015, a team of geneticists, led by Monica Carmen, looked at the DNA of men across dozens of populations and found something that didn't add up. Your Y chromosome is passed down from father to son, almost unchanged. It's a direct line to your oldest male ancestor. So here's the math. If you trace back all the male lineages alive today, they converge, fast. Not to thousands of distinct ancient fathers, to a shockingly small number. Around the same moment in history, 7,000 years ago, most male lines just stop. And the craziest part? The female lines didn't collapse. Women's mitochondrial DNA keeps right on going, generation after generation, no bottleneck. Whatever happened 7,000 years ago, it only came for the men. For 200,000 years, humans were hunter-gatherers, small bands moving constantly, sharing everything. Then, around 10,000 years ago, we invented agriculture, and everything changed. Here's the thing about farming nobody puts on the cereal box. It let us stay in one place, and staying in one place meant resources piled up. And resources piling up meant some men controlled them. Because once a man could own something, land, grain, livestock, the entire way we thought about people changed. In a hunter-gatherer band, you couldn't hoard. There was nothing to hoard. Food spoiled, you moved on, and status was earned by sharing, not stockpiling. But farming made the future worth fighting over. A man could now pass his land to his sons. His sons could pass it to theirs. For the first time in human history, your name, your wealth, your bloodline, it could all outlive you. And that changed what men were willing to do to protect it. Suddenly, a society could be organized around a few powerful lineages. A chief, his sons' sons, hoarding wealth, land, and wives. The rest of the men? They became surplus, disposable. And history has a dark word for what happens to disposable men. Archaeologists have found the proof in the ground, and the most haunting of them is a place in Germany called Talheim. Imagine it, a small farming village, maybe 40 people, living in a clearing. Fields, a few longhouses, kids, dogs. And one day, we don't know the hour, it ended. Archaeologists found 34 bodies thrown into a pit. Men, women, children. But here's the detail that sticks with you. The men's skulls were smashed in from behind. The blows came from the back. These people didn't die in a fair fight. They were attacked, probably by a rival group that wanted the land, the grain, the women. The men who could fight back were killed first, then the children, so no sons survived to avenge their fathers. The women who could carry the future were taken. This same pattern appears again and again. In Austria, a site called Schlitz. In Germany again, Herxheim, where bones were found cut and broken in ways that suggest something far worse than burial. These weren't accidents. These were massacres. Raids where the winners killed the men, took the women, and absorbed the survivors into their own lineage. One victorious clan, wiping out its rival's entire male line again and again for generations. That's not a war, that's a pattern. And over centuries, the pattern compounds, until almost every Y-chromosome left belongs to the descendants of the clans who kept winning. Which raises the question everyone lands on. Why did the women survive? The answer is brutally practical. In a raiding culture, women were the resource worth taking. They carried the future, the children, the labor. Men were the threat. So the men died, and the women moved on. Their genes kept flowing, one lineage to the next, while the losing men's lines ended in a ditch. And that's the quiet horror of it. The bottleneck wasn't an asteroid or a plague. It was 1,000 small acts of violence, repeated so often they left a scar in the DNA of every man alive today. Now, you've probably seen the viral version of this story, the one that says one single superfather out-reproduced everyone else. Some Genghis Khan type figure hoarding all the wives. And that's not quite right. The data doesn't point to one man. It points to a process. Multiple clans in different regions, each doing the same thing, consolidating wealth, power, and reproduction into fewer and fewer male lines. It happened in the Middle East, in Europe, in Asia. Not one villain, a system. And that system never really went away. Look at history's great empires, Rome, the Mongols, the dynasties of China, and you'll see the same shape. A handful of powerful families concentrating land, wealth, and reproduction, while everyone else fights over the scraps. Genghis Khan's DNA didn't spread because he was uniquely evil. It spread because he could. The Y-chromosome bottleneck is ancient, but the engine behind it, a few men controlling who gets to build the future, is still running. The only difference is that now we can read it in our own blood. 7,000 years later, you're watching this because one of those winning lineages led, eventually, to you. Almost everyone watching this video descends from a survivor of that bottleneck. The odds of any one of us existing are already absurd, but 7,000 years ago, they got a whole lot slimmer. And the wildest part? We're still living in the world farming built. The hierarchies, the wealth, the inequality, the story of who controls the future, it's all still running on that same ancient operating system. If this bent your brain a little, drop a comment. Tell me which part you'd never heard before. And if you want more of the dark history they skipped in school, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.